Hello, everyone. Welcome to another podcast. Today we have a really amazing individual, Sabato. He is a senior leader in data and AI space. He is currently a senior director at Typico, which is amazing. He's based in Malta. I'm trying to understand why is he based in Malta. We'll speak to him about Malta as well. His wealth of experience in building scalable data and AI solutions. A quick background, I was given a talk a few months ago in one of the CDO exchanges back in London, and Sibato happened to be attending one of those events as well, and we exchanged very knowledgeable insights on symbolic AI, which is also his area of expertise and interest. And today, luckily, we have him on the podcast as well. And without taking much time, Sibato, welcome, and feel free to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Masood. Thank you for having me. As you said, my background spans from physics to the industry. I had years of experience in travel, retails, and now betting. Um, Currently, as director of AI and data science at Tipico. And Malta is a fantastic country to be in. It's sunny, nice weather, nice places to enjoy your vacation time. So that's why I'm here.
Amazing. Definitely one of the places I really want to visit in the near future. So let's track on. I think one thing that I come across around AI is like AI is everywhere today. There is no conversation without AI. So sometimes it becomes really boring. Um, but I didn't want to tap into your mindset around where you're thinking the biggest misconceptions still exist. Basically, trying to understand the misunderstandings about the AI.
Yeah. So in my experience, or let's say talking to leaders in the field and talking to my peers, I see that the big misconception is that there is only one AI story. In my opinion, there is not a single AI story. There is nowadays this hype that agentic AI is fully transformational and is gonna magically change what can be done in a company. This is partially true. There is, in my opinion, not a one size fits all. It all depends on the particular phase that each company is in their own AI journey. You might be at the very beginning where you are exploring, where you are trying to understand what is the potential of this technology for your own business need. And for example, right, so you can the current narrative says that just by implementing AI agents, enterprise will transform, and naturally the change will happen. This is not going to be magically transformational. The transformation will happen only when companies, enterprises, and leadership will realize that in order to harness the transformational value of agentic AI, we need to redesign the way we are even thinking.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, totally agree. I think you gave a really couple of good angles to it. One about single AI story, and then you're talking about an AI agent coming in and it will just solve everything miraculously. I think those are kind of misconceptions, and I think uh, I would like to think that there are several myths that I think about that about AI could disappear over the next year. But I would like to understand, what you think about some of the myths you think that, you want to see disappear over the next year or so when it comes to, your angle of what you proposed just now.
Yeah, what I would like to disappear in the future is this rhetoric that AI is gonna eat your job or is gonna change everything. It is, but not in the way that we are currently hearing about. The other thing that I see is especially senior leaders with less affinity with AI and with cutting edge technology, is that AI strategy might just be about technology, or it might just be about innovation, or it might just be about efficiency. In my opinion, is a combination of all. And the real leadership skill that we should actually have in the future is knowing how to combine them, especially how to what emphasize in each phase of the journey toward AI.
Yeah, I mean, this is really, really interesting point you have really touched over there. I've attended so many conferences and I've watched so many videos, and I think every other video is either about it has to be business led, and another person who is a techie like myself as well, it has to be technology led. And I think this is one of the
Yeah.
reasons I think there's a kind of a misconception around it has to be kind of a hybrid model rather than one leading the other. And I think a next follow-up, question that I had in my mind was, why most of these AI projects never make it to production? Because it's really
Yes.
aligning to what you were proposing around. It has to be a hybrid approach, and I can see like McKinsey reporting 85% of the projects never landed in production. They fail in POC. So, I mean, what are your thoughts around, why those AI projects are not landing into production? Is this
Yeah.
a bit more than that?
Yeah. Actually, this is a fantastic topic, and I can share some experience not only in Tipico but also in my previous experience at Fresnap and back in Trivago as well. Right, uh, with about like 4 years, 5 years of working with AI and generative AI in the last years. My experience is that the reasons for failure are diverse. There might be that there is no alignment with the business needs, so you are building something just out of curiosity for the technology, but there is no impact or no application for the business. Or you might have wrong expectation. You just go to your leaders and you say, "Hey, AI is going to solve everything." Then there is this mismatch between what reality is and what a business leader can understand from your word. And it's again what we said before. Like, it's not gonna introducing AI agents is not gonna magically change the structure of your business or the way your processes are set up, right? And the other thing that I found mostly relevant for AI specific project, because the other two, it's no news, right?
Yeah,
This is something that has been true for every single project that we would have developed in the past. But the thing that is specifically true for AI is the mismatch between what is the current maturity that you have in the company in terms of AI, and what is the maturity that the solution you want to put in place requires.
interesting.
That's in my opinion why there is this high rate of failures, because people leaders cannot recognize these aspects.
Right. Okay. I mean, that's very interesting point because what I've understood is that there's a technology element, there is there is a data element, there is a governance element, and there is a leadership element. Uh, so if I try and put it down into a question like what is the biggest challenge usually is either it's technology, the data, the governance, or the leadership, or is there something else that I'm missing?
It is a combination of things, right? And again, is how you move into through all the phases of this journey. Uh, and of course, if you don't have alignment with business, if you don't have the exact targets that you want to have, this is failure by design, right?
Mm,
If you have all of those, but you don't let's say you don't know how to move from one phase, from the prototype to let's say the operational and the governance and reliability that an enterprise will need to have for an AI solution to work properly. So without, basically, you want to go from a POC to enterprise grade solution without changing how you are serving those solutions. This is what is creating the most friction, and the bar is even higher when we consider this agentic AI era that we are living right now. Why is it so? Right, you have an LLM that gives you an answer, and the quality of that answer uh, create just that much of impact. It's just quality issue, and then you check and you move on. An agent, however, that needs to take decisions, plan, and maybe go toward autonomy more and more. uh, this creates operational risk, and this means that in order to be production ready, now you have to think of tool permission, human in the loop, audit trails, evaluation frameworks. You have to account for monitoring. You have to think of fallback paths if there is a decision that might have a big impact, and there is the confidence of that decision that is not meeting requirements. What do I do? What is the cost that I want to pay for it? And most importantly is like, which kind of data am I using to inform my agents to make decisions, and how do I trust this data?
Interesting. So that your answer became a true masterclass on fixing the culture, governance, the data, how the leadership is going to work, how the technology landscape should be. Really, really, elaborative answer. Really appreciate that. And I think one of the favorite ones, which I always want to ask people about, is we all talk about large language models, and the next model and the model after that, we are already preparing for GPT-6, and we're talking about it, that what difference it will be. Some says it will be like a PhD level model. Some says it will be the next general artificial intelligence, like a pure intelligence being. But what I think is, at the moment, what I'm seeing is the organizations, they still struggle to trust the answers that the LLMs, they produce. And now should we solve it? And I can give you my take on it, that it's not really a holy grail solution. It's like, if you have a semantic layer that have an approach to improving trust and governance, then I think we might have hallucination-free answers, or close to some kind of trustworthy outcomes. But I'd like to understand your take on it, that why these LLMs are not trustable at the moment.
Well, I think we should move more from do we trust the LLM, or do we trust the systems that we are building with the LLMs, right? And my take is that we should not ask if we trust the model. We should rather ask ourselves, can we observe, govern, constrain, and correct the systems where these models operates into? In other words, right? So trust is not just a confidence score or a probability score that you get from the what is the most probable next word that the LLM is giving you, but it's more the architecture that you are putting in place for building a specific solution based on LLM. And this requires, as I said, how do you trust your data? You need governed enterprise data. You need semantic consistency. You need identity and access control. You need explainability. You need policy. You need observability, and so on and so forth, right? So, and last but not least, you need human accountability. So uh, having a semantic layer, as you mentioned, is very powerful, because at least this is what I think. Right, it gives AI the shared, what is the shared business consensus, the language that we all share in the company, that grounds, in a sense, this architecture that we are building, these solutions, into what a human, an employee, a colleague would also have. And that would, in a sense, reduce the amount of hallucination that we are seeing with the off-of-the-shelf models, because are, of course, not grounded. Um, uh, uh, and what I observed also with my experience within my company is that hallucinations and mistakes then are starting to be more and more comparable with what we do as well, right? We do have an understanding of the business KPIs, but sometimes we misunderstand them or misread them, and that can also happen.
Right. That's really, really interesting approach to that. I mean, semantic layers are my area of interest, and in my head, the way your developers should work is whether you use Claude, Codex, or any other agent. You need access to data, you go via semantic layer, via MCP or something. And I was reading an article by ThoughtSpot, so they were suggesting or kind of proposing that an MCP is the next REST API for data engineers and analysts and any developer. And I kind of agree to that, because I think with MCP you can expose all of those tools that are needed to build a semantic layer before you reach your data. So really, really interesting, point of view that you mentioned. Yeah, so I think let's look into the advances in generative AI over the past few years. So I've been using AI since 2013. It wasn't really called AI back then. It was called
Yep.
something else, predictive modeling analysis and all that. Uh, but I've used like all most of those early stage models. But everybody has become an expert of generative AI since ChatGPT came out, uh, and here we are. But how about you? What really excites you about where AI is heading over the next 3 years? Do you still see a more advanced ChatGPT versions, or you see a total flip into a different direction? What are your thoughts around this?
That's a very, very interesting question. So, as you mentioned, right, the journey of AI has started long before AI became mainstream and cool. Imagine all these machine learning models and neural network architectures that were built even before the transformer architecture, right? And have been used for many years in different domains and different. If I see how fast the development of generative AI, especially in the past 3, 4 years, is going. I am inclined to think that the next 4, 5 years will be mind blowing.
Hmm.
Not per se related to an individual model, so GPT-6 rather than Claude, Opus, something else, or Fable, or any other model that might come up to the market.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I see mostly exciting is this trend, or this push toward having uh, AI as a tool, to AI as capabilities, to AI as native operating models, to AI as digital employee.
Hmm.
If you can actually, what I would expect would happen in the next years, is the shift between, hey, I'm using ChatGPT rather than Copilot to be faster, to, hey, I'm using AI as a coworker, as my digital employee that I work alongside. And I guess that enterprises, companies that will realize this shift, and we will have already the maturity to start this new journey, this frontier journey. This is where we will see amazing stuff happening.
Interesting. Yeah, totally agree. I think a couple of years ago, when I was talking about semantics, it was kind of a new topic to people understanding ontologies and taxonomies. 2 years, everybody's now talking about building a semantic layer, need for ontologies, and the direction of travel is towards agentic and getting true, kind of intelligence, where the manufacturers are actually going towards. And I think I believe it was like last week I was reading a post on LinkedIn by Y Combinator, and they were proposing that the kind of startups they want to fund this year are the ones using AI agents to build digital employees, like which you refer to as well, like digital accountants or agent-based product managers, because I think product is kind of a very complicated domain. A product guy has to talk to very big diaspora of stakeholders to run the show, and an agent can be very valuable. So I think this definitely direction is towards agent digital based employees. So very exciting space. I'm really looking forward to that. Last but not the least, I think we're just coming to the time. What, I mean, as a leader yourself, if you can give like um, every data and AI leader out there, even if they're not a data and AI leader, they're a CEO or a COO, wanting to jump on this AI journey or going through this transformation. What is one piece of advice that you think would be the most valuable for the senior leaders out there?
Yeah, yeah. In my opinion, is, as I mentioned, AI is not one story; it's a journey, right?
Yeah,
And as a leader, uh, each one of us has to lead this journey. However, the difficult part is to actually not get off track
yeah,
because of the hype of the market, because the FOMO, because everything. So depending on which phase you are as a leader in your company, you need to act differently. Think big and challenge assumptions in the discovery phase. If you are in production and scale up phase, be more pragmatic, focus on the value, try to understand better the things around ownership of those solutions, build the foundations, because without governance of these solutions, monitoring, as we mentioned before, how do you make sure that an agentic flow is not silently
yeah,
failing or
yeah,
is taking a wrong decision? So build these foundations before scaling is fundamental.
yeah.
And
That's
in
that's really
general,
100%. Yeah,
and in general, before starting or scaling any agentic initiative, we mentioned already those points, right? So the 5 questions that we need to ask is, what is the business outcome that I want? Which kind of workflow do I need to redesign for this? What decision or action the system is going to take? And how can I monitor and react if anything behaves unexpected? And last but not least, who is going to own this system after deployment? Who is going to be accountable after my agent is in the wild taking decisions and having an impact? Positive, good, so P&L goes up. Negative, who is going to take the blame,
yeah,
right? So these are very important questions that as a leader in the AI space right now, you have to ask and to answer. In my opinion, the leader who will succeed in this space are those that can hold two truths at the same time. The one truth is that AI is generally transformative. So it's going to be transformative of our space. It's going to change the many aspects of how we work. But the other truth is that transformation doesn't happen by magic. It requires discipline. It requires redesign of work. It requires thinking that you need to do as a leader.
Amazing. So discipline, governance, and leadership is the key element. And most importantly, you need to build foundations before you build your castle. Really appreciate your time, Sabato. Really amazing insights into how an organization should be operating in this day and age, your direction of travel, how you can build a successful organization, delivering successful projects that actually work in production. Thank you very much for joining us today. So like, share, and subscribe, and we will have another guest in our podcast shortly. Until then, thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you, Masood. Have a good day.